welcome to our little guide to gourmet cooking in a camper van. Now we're hoping to do a final nice meal to a holiday that we've been on to Scotland for 2 weeks, and we've been experimenting with some dishes, with some of the nice bits of utensils and kit that we've got, and hopefully we're going to make a special meal, a gourmet meal. So on tonight's menu we have cheese and salmon, but wrapped. And the salmon we picked up in Mallaig from Jaffys Quality Fresh and Smoked Fish House, which is right next to Mallaig railway station. And their salmon comes from Shetland, but they smoke it there. A couple of nights ago we were staying near Mingarry Park Hotel, and next door to Mingarry Park Hotel they produce their own venison. So we are hoping to have fillet of venison from wild Highland Venison, Mingarry Acharacle. I hope that's how it's pronounced. Apologies if not. With boiled potatoes and kale, and for dessert our pièce de résistance is bread and butter pudding. And for that you need one of these, an essential item. It's a Ridge Monkey sandwich toaster, but if you've seen any of the videos online you'll discover that you can cook so much more on these. So that's the plan, and those are the ingredients, and hopefully you'll get to see what the results are. Just wanted to mention some very useful items that will be helpful when you're trying to produce a nice meal in a camper van. So we've got the Ridge Monkey, the sandwich toaster, but we also have a steamer. So we've just got one pan and a lid because that's all we can fit in our cupboard space. But this is really handy to take with you because you've got a sieve and you've also got a pan for cooking whatever you want. It's not just a steamer, but you can use it as a steamer, and we will be tonight. And it also helps to have a pot stand. So we've just got anything, because our kitchen sink has a single hob, which means you need to be able to take hot pans and put them down safely. And that's pretty much about it, but the steamer is really, really useful even if you don't have a Ridge Monkey. Our starter is going to be made by Mrs. M, and so I'm going to hand over to her now and she'll talk you through what we've got.
I'm going to be making locally smoked Scottish salmon parcels, which are really simple to make, which is important I think in a campervan setting because you've got such limited space. So with this you have got some smoked salmon, which comes as a standard as slices. I'm just going to take it out of the wrapping. And here obviously there are 4 slices, so potentially that's for 4 people, or if you're having a real blowout like we are, that's 2 each for 2 people. So I'll just show you how to make one. So I'm going to lay a first piece of salmon on the counter. What I've done is got some local, it's not local cheese, but it was bought locally, I didn't bring it with me. All over Scotland, which is where we're holidaying at the moment, you'll find small one-stop shop kind of places to buy your food. And a lot of those actually will supply local produce as well as generic produce. At the moment what I found is a garlic and herb cheese, which I'm going to put into the centre of my piece of salmon, and then we're going to roll it so that we cover the cheese up. And there we go, we've got a small parcel. And let's do a second one. I think when you're in a camper van, it can be tempting, like on any other camping holiday, to go and eat out at a pub or a restaurant and that's great to do, and we do that. But your one hob that you have in a camper van is more versatile than you think, and there are things you can cook that you can buy locally on your travels, so you can have a bit of a food tour as well as go on your holiday and bring that produce back to your camper van and cook it and prepare it there and eat a little bit more cheaply while also still getting to taste the best of what's out there. So there you have it, locally smoked Scottish salmon parcels made with garlic and herb cheese. I'll make up the rest for later.
Okay, so now we're going to do our main course, which is going to be new potatoes with kale and to go with our venison fillet steak. We're just going to do the vegetables first and get them on. We'll just run a bit of water into the steamer here, and that is obviously going to steam our kale, but it's also at the same time going to boil our potatoes. I'm just going to light this. So we'll get that water boiled, get the potatoes on, and come back in a minute. Okay, so whilst we're making our main course, boiling some water, I'm just going to do some prep for our bread and butter pudding dessert. So we need some currants, which we have.
They're sultanas.
Oh, they're sultanas, aren't they? All right, we've got some sultanas. I'm going to get a good handful. Well, that was 2 handfuls, wasn't it? Yeah, so we're going to get a good couple of handfuls here for that. And we haven't made them like this yet. We've experimented a couple of times on our trip with this, but we thought it would be a good idea, because we're in Scotland, to see if we can give this a Scottish twist. So I have some Oban single malt. That's probably very generous, and if there's anything left over I'll finish it up later. So anyway, they're now just hopefully going to soak up a bit of whisky in there and get lovely. But we also need to, we're making this with brioche because we wanted to push the boat out and make it a really nice dessert. So I just need to prepare some of these buns, cut them, and I'll need to butter them. But I'm not going to do that yet, because what you need to do is you need to layer them butter side down across the ridge monkey, and when you come to make it up, when I was showing you some of the handy items that are good for camping, I forgot to mention measuring cups. These are really useful. You can use them as ladles as well as measuring. So we're going to need that for later when we make the bread and butter pudding, because that will give us our quantities of milk to egg. And then once this is all done, we can start to butter things up, and then it'll be ready to cook later. So the potatoes have been on for a minute or 2 or 3, and so we're just going to get the kale on. So good handful of kale, which is going everywhere after a couple of gin and tonics. So we've got a nice quantity of kale in there, hopefully for the 2 of us. There we go. And then, so now we'll let that warm up a little bit, steam the kale, and then we're going to take that off the heat and then get onto the fillet steak, fillet venison. Okay, we're ready to start our venison now, so we're just going to heat up the ridge monkey and get that hot. In the meantime, I am going to just put, because we want some salt and pepper on our venison, so I'm just going to season the board. this out of its packet. That looks lovely. I just have the bin down here, so that's straight in the bin. And now we just need to work out how to cut this equitably between me and Mrs. M, because okay, so I'm going to say that's in half. And then I shall give this a roll. Okay, so that's heated up nicely. So the next step is to get a bit of oil on there. And I'm just going to close it and just swirl that about a bit. So now it's time for the meat. So here we go. Okay, so the venison is nearly ready, and I've just remembered an old suggestion. When you're doing steak, if you want it rare, hold your first finger and thumb together, and if you push that, that's how a rare should be. Medium rare is a little bit firmer, getting on to well done is the third finger, so this is about medium rare, I think. So we're just going to get these off onto the plate. Just going to turn the heat off on that. Next, we're going to serve up the kale. And now we're ready for the potatoes. Like I was saying earlier, we're just going to use the top half of the steamer as my colander. I'm just going to put this out of the way. And then we're just going to get the potatoes on the plate. So there you have it. We have our West Highland venison from Mingarry, kale and new potatoes. As you may have noticed, it's a little darker now. That's because we have been to do some washing up because we needed to for dessert, and also we went to the beach because we haven't had a lot of sunshine on our holiday, and so when the opportunity arose we seized it with open arms. So I've just finished buttering the last of our brioche buns, and this is butter. This isn't a spread, a margarine spread. It's just that this is handy size for fitting our fridge. So that's what we've been keeping our butter in, and it's a nice room temperature. So you need to butter the bread and be generous with it. So I just want to go through the ingredients that we've got here. We have got, actually I'll pull it up, we've got a 6 bag of brioche buns, and I've buttered them all. And you're going to need some milk, some sugar. Now we have got caster sugar, but it could be anything, brown sugar, whatever. Our raisin sultanas, our sultanas, if you remember, I put a splash of whisky in there and I've soaked them in it. And the other ingredient you need is an egg and a bowl to mix up the milk and egg.
Tell us about the egg.
Oh, the egg! Oh yes, the egg. We got this from, it's a farm egg. So we enjoyed the other 5 and we saved this one for the bread and butter pudding. but it was picked up on one of the farms that we've seen as we've been travelling around Scotland, and you'll see lots of places advertising eggs for sale or vegetables and the like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attempt to try and start making the pudding. I'm just going to detach the pan so you can see this a bit more easily. And so you take all the buttered side pieces of your bread. You can use any bread and put them butter side down. Now, it won't quite fit. Don't worry about cramming things in. That's fine. If you have anything left over like that, just cut it to fit, and that's all you have to do. Okay, so now you've got that first layer in, you can start to put in your sultanas, sugar. I just want to say actually that this isn't my recipe. I didn't come up with this. I can't remember who did, but if you Google Ridge Monkey recipes bread and butter pudding, you will find a woman who does a lot of Ridge Monkey recipes, and she trialled this herself, and when she came up with it, she didn't actually have any sugar or sultanas, and she used pear and honey. So you can see you can riff on this a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some sugar on there first. So be very generous with the sugar. And that is pretty generous. And then we need to get the, in our case, whiskey soaked sultanas. You can obviously soak them in a liqueur or spirit of your choice, or not at all if that's the case. They don't have to be. We just thought we'd give it a go and see what it's like. I mean, it might be disgusting, but we'll have to wait and see. And there you go. And oh dear, I have some whiskey left over. Well, that's lovely. So next we need more sugar. And I know this feels like overkill, but it really isn't. So now we need to put the bread on there again, the next layer, but butter side up. So what I'm going to try and do is not do it the same way that that first layer has gone on, so I can try and get it to form differently. This will make a bit more sense when it all cooks down. I think that needs to be a bit longer. Okay, so now we need to make up our milk and egg batter. So it just takes one egg. Now we need to add some milk, and I found 125 millilitres of milk is just enough. In fact, I don't even normally fill it up right to the top, so that is plenty of milk. And so I'm then just going to give that a little whisk. So now that we've got that egg mixture ready, we're going to need to put it onto there, but even though this is an extra large pan, there isn't a lot of room in this pan. It's not very deep. So I am just going to get this lit. And our gas hob has two settings. It has on and low, and sometimes if we're lucky we can get it on a simmer setting, which is kind of what you need. It doesn't need to be very hot. That for our hob is too low. That's just about right. So I'll get that over there, and then very gently pour this. You kind of want this to soak in everywhere. And to some extent this is when you need to do a bit of thinking about how your campervan has been parked. We're on a slight tilt here, So I think I need to just lift my arm up a little bit. Okay, and that is just enough. And then you need to leave that for 5 minutes. It's ready to turn over. Now, one of the things when you're cooking with a ridge monkey, I'm actually going to flip it over, is that, and then just check, there we go. Normally when you're cooking with a ridge monkey, you have it on a fairly high heat and you turn it over repeatedly to stop it burning. So this is an unusual way of cooking. You've got it on a low heat and you leave it for a good long time. And so that now needs another 5 minutes to cook the other side. Just going to flip it over to see what it looks like. And that's looking very nice. Maybe we'll have quarters for now.
Smells amazing.
Oh, I lost a bit there. There we go. So there you have brioche bread and butter pudding with whiskey soaked sultanas.